All right, guys. So if we want to get descriptive statistics in SPSS, there's a lot of ways you can do that. We're going to go through the ones that we've read about for class today. And I'm going back to the data set we've used so far, the lop.save. And remember, in this we have one dependent variable we've looked at before, the number of words people recalled out of 18. And we have a second variable, the number of words recalled on the retest. And we might be interested to know what are the descriptive statistics for the number of words people recalled originally, and how many words are recalled on the retest. So we could just calculate what's the average for both of these variables, but do recall that we don't have a retest score for everyone who did the test. So there's just a smaller subset of people where we have both their original number of words recalled and the number on the retest. So really we want to restrict ourselves to those cases where we have a measurement for both dependent measures. So in the same set of people, how many words did they remember on day 1 and how many did they remember on day 2? To do that, we're just going to go ahead and again restrict ourselves to just some of the cases. And we're going to use again the condition if. So we're going to include cases if, and this is the function system missing. So basically the function system missing will return true if the variable number of words retest is empty. So if you see a period in the variable here, like right there, that's a missing value. So there's no retest score for that person. So we're going to choose only the cases where system missing returns false. So if in fact there is a number there, system missing will return false, and we're going to take the not of that. So we're going to say we want the things that are not missing, and for the retest, and we also want those where the number of words is also not missing. So this should select just those cases where we have a score for both variables. So if you hit OK, SPSS will do the restricting. And what you should see is that a lot of cases now are not being used, and those are cases where we're either missing the retest score or where we're missing the original test score. And so we're left with a subset of the original data. And now at this point we want to know, well, what are the descriptive statistics? Well, we can go back to Analyze, go down to Descriptives, and there's a couple of things that we could do. We're going to focus today on frequencies and on descriptives. So if you hit Descriptives, you can select the variables that you want to calculate the descriptive statistics for. So we'll take the number of words recalled and the number of words on the retest. If you just hit OK, you'll get the minimum value, the maximum value, the average, and the standard deviation. So the average number of words recalled on day 1 was 9.31. The average words recalled on the retest was 6.81, and this was in the sample of 42 people. The range was 14, so from 2 to 16 in the number of words recalled, and the range was 10 from 2 to 12 in the number of words recalled on the retest. Standard deviation was a little bit smaller on the retest, but about 3.7 for the number of words recalled and 2.7 for the retest. Now if you go back to descriptives, also have a few other options you can pick here. You can ask for the variance, you can ask for the range, you can ask for standard error of the mean. We're not going to worry about that right now. You can ask for the sum, which we don't really, might be helpful. Only if you're going to have to do some other calculations by hand and you don't want to calculate that number yourself. So then if you hit OK, then SPSS will oblige you with another table that just adds the range, adds the sum, and adds the variance. So that's pretty straightforward. Notice what's missing, though, is we don't have the median, and that was not an option under descriptives. There's other ways to get to it. Probably the easiest way is to go back to frequencies. So remember, this is how we made our frequency table and our histogram, and we could do that again. But under statistics, which is an option we didn't use before, I guess we used once, you can ask for the median, the mean, the mode. You can ask for the sum again. You can get the quartiles, variance, range, min and max, standard deviation. So most of the things that we would have gotten from, actually pretty much everything from descriptives. So then if you hit OK, and so now the table's formatted a little differently, but still you have 9.31 for the mean, 6.81 for the retest, median of 10 versus 7, mode of 11 versus 7, standard deviation of 3.7 versus 2.7, 13 for the variance, 7 for the variance in the retest. Otherwise, you also have the percentiles, so you could use this to calculate the interquartile range. But overall, this is a good way of kind of getting a sense of, well, what is the typical score? So typically on the first test, people remembered about 10, between 9 and 10 words. And on the retest, somewhere between 6.8 and 7 words. So between the first test and the retest, on average, people dropped about 3 words. So essentially over the weekend for the memory test. You also have your frequency tables here, and you'll also get the histogram for both sets of words. Notice you don't have as prominent of a peak. Remember before we had a nice peak at 11 and a nice peak around 5. Those are kind of there here, but now that we have a smaller data set, it's getting noisier. But again, you would expect that if we looked at the people who are in the category group, that's probably a lot of the scores here, and the number of vowels constants group would be the scores down here. Some of the other descriptors are plotted here, but overall, that would be the quick and dirty way to get descriptives in SPSS. Later, as we move on, a lot of the descriptives we'll use will actually be produced along with our inferential tests. We won't need to use the descriptives option on its own, but it is useful to know that it's there. So, all right, thanks guys. We're going to stop there.